appreciate him for that, as it did help develop the younger players. As Mr. Scott mentioned, he was strong on fundamentals, and I believe always has been. And I think that's been handed down to his players, those that are coaches today, those that are coaches of those coaches, are still strong on fundamentals, as Mr. Phillips was. Because if you can't field and catch the ball, if you're a good hitter, they don't have that many DHs. You got to have it all, be complete. And certainly he did teach the fundamentals. And it shows forth with those that are coaching, that were his players and disciples in times past. And not want to take too much time today. Certainly I was honored to be a part of this program today to talk about someone like Mr. Phillips. And of course I thought others would mention things here other than sports, but I want to mention things that I remember Mr. Phillips for and playing. And certainly, as he mentioned, I think everyone here knows how Mr. Phillips has contributed to not only sports here, but the church, the community activities, water system, telephone, the fire department, you name it, Mr. Phillips has been a big part of it. And as I did mention, the schools, of course, we all realize that. And any other worthwhile project that he could help with, we found Mr. Phillips there. And I'd say, thank God for the Wayne Phillipses of the world today.
Thank you, Ray. Our next speaker will be John Brady. John was a 1956 graduate of Bennett High School here, signed with the then Milwaukee Braves, played in their minor league system. Is currently in Burlington as a finance company manager. John, we'd like you to come forward this time.
Thank you, Coach, but I can't say the same things that Ray has because he's much older than I am. But anyway, let me just touch on a few things, please, about Coach Phillips. I played high school ball, of course, under Mr. Coggins before Wayne ever got here in the 7th grade. And Ray Jones was laughing at me just a while ago about every time he saw me, I went 4 for 5. Of course, that's not really true either. But in those days, there was a lot of difference. And when Wayne came on the scene, I was in the 8th grade. And he made a big difference in my life. And let me just share a few of those memories, if I may, please. Confidence was one of the greatest things that every individual needs. I don't care what field that you're in. And I'm sure that Coach got, he can remember this. We was playing for the playoffs one day in Moncure. And of course I played short and hired on 3rd and Ronald 2nd, Gurney 1st. And I'm sure the score was really close and tied, and they hit me 3 balls in a row. Well, I missed them all 3. And I just said to myself, God, make him hit me one more. Don't hit it to Ronald, because he might miss it. That's the God truth. Now, that's confidence, isn't it? That's true. Now, Coach Phillips had never heard that before, but that was in my heart that day. Hit it to me, please. Not to nobody else, because I won't miss another one. So I guess that is confidence. But as we moved on, and I played basketball in the 8th grade, and Coach Phillips, as you know, was the coach of all sports then. One night we was in Bisco. That's when he had a high school team. And I was an 8th grader, and we had a guy, I think it was a Purvis, I'm not sure because he knows. And he shot 3 or 4 times at the wrong goal. I got the rebound and came down, and he was raising sand up, bring it back and try it again. So those are some things that come back to your mind, and I'm going to touch very briefly, Coach, on our football programs here. This won't be as great as his baseball program, by no means. I always thought that if I could play 4 years quarterback here in football and dodge all the guys chasing you around here, I should play in the pro ball. And pro ball would never have any blockers. I'm not going to say that Ronald Scott was a great blocker because he wasn't. He knows that. So let me tell you one little quick incident on Dwight Jones. Is Dwight here today? Okay, as you know the rules in those days, if the quarterback touched a snap and you couldn't cross the scrimmage line without a first handoff. Okay, Mr. Phillips put Dwight in as a halfback on offense. I don't know why. I guess he felt sorry for him, but that was those days. And Dwight at that age was not the most graceful person, so in a huddle, I said, make sure when you get in your stance you don't tumble over because that's backfield in motion, Dwight. Anyway, we took the snap, and I ran around about 15 minutes, and Dwight, of all the games, had more blocks in that one time, and we had all year. And he knocked the guy down. I'd come back by him again. He'd knock him down again. Then at last, and Dwight says, "John, damn it, do something. I'm going to quit." so I did something on what it was. Another good play of our great football club was this. Of course, again, I was quarterback. We had a left end. It was not Ron Scott again, so Ron, you have to plug. He went out for a pass, and he had his hands so like this. Mr. Phillips, remember this? Probably a beautiful pass all year. The ball went, I don't know, yards and yards, and sailed right between his hands. He come back to the huddle, and I said, "Jesse, what in the God's name is wrong?" He said, "The darn ball went through my hands." Sure, okay. But let's get to another aspect of this, please. You know, there's more to life than just playing baseball and sports, okay? And I used to look up to two guys here when I was a 7th grader. And I don't see them here today. One was Billy Baxter and Charles Brewer. I didn't understand how you could be redshirted for 5 years in a row as a senior, but they were. And they were good ball players. The only difference, I was redshirted as a 1st grader. My sister sitting behind Miss Cabbage here, remember this. I came to school the first year on the first day, and we came out for recess to get water, I suppose, or something. And I got water on these steps over here, and I said, "My God, not for me." I went home and never came back another day. So that was my red shirt class. But anyway, as you know, I have played sports for so many coaches, high school, semi-pro, professional. I've seen my son play high school and college ball, and there's just no comparison to play for a man like this. It's not that he is the greatest on strategy and stuff like this, I'm sure he is, but it's the character that he builds into you. And it's just like the incident I just mentioned in Moncure, those kind of plays. And I just have to go on record as saying that of all the people I have met, this is the top one in my life. And again, getting away from the sports, I guess as Ray Jones has said, and I have mentioned this to him one other time, I think, maybe a year or two ago, if it would be possible to have a second father, Wayne Phillips would be mine, because he is tops in any class. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Our next speaker is C.K. Seiler, native of Siler City. C.K. at the present time is the athletic director at Southern Gilbert High School. C.K. was an Elon teammate of Mr. Phillips. In fact, he's in the Athletic Hall of Fame at Elon. He also played in the Boston Red Sox minor league organization. C.K.
Thank you, Ron. Looks kind of familiar here. It's been a long time. I played here a few years and had some great times at Bennett. I see a few people up there that I recognize, and it's really a pleasure to come here for an event like this. Wayne and I were teammates. I had known Wayne. I didn't know him personally, but I had known him when I was in high school. And then Wayne and I were both at Elon together, played baseball together. In fact, we were co-captains of the baseball team at the same time. And I'd like to say that it is really a pleasure to come here to see you honor a man like Wayne Phillips. We had some great years at Elon. He was a little bit ahead of me, but we had some great years there. A lot of fun. We lived in the same dorm. We threw the water bags out the same window, and generally had a great time. But I'm going to make this short. I think the key thing for Wayne Phillips is the type of person he is. I think anybody that has been associated with Wayne Phillips has to be a better person. And I feel like that my association with Wayne has been great. I've been a teammate, schoolmate, and a friend. And that friendship has lasted for about 40 years. Now, I know I don't look as old as some of these other guys out here, Wayne and I have been friends for right at 40 years, and that's been a great friendship. And I know this community certainly has to be proud to have a citizen such as Wayne Phillips. And I think the key thing is, as you look around here, we see the people that are in the field of education that have been influenced by his life. And I think we judge a person by the influence they have on the people around them. And I know no one that has been a better influence with his life than Wayne Phillips. And as I said before, it is indeed a pleasure for me to be here and to say a few words in behalf of my friend and former teammate Wayne Phillips.
Thank you, CK. Our next speaker is Joe Brady. Joe, of course, as we all know, Bennett native, Bennett graduate. At the present time, he is a baseball coach at Eastern Guilford High School. Joe?
Thank you, Coach. These other men have said they played and knew Mr. Phillips back when he was young. I had him for a teacher in the 8th grade, and in that room right up there, every day he walked in, I could feel his eyes on me. I don't know if I was doing something that he had to be looking at me, but I certainly could feel his eyes. Mr. Phillips one day stopped me between the building and the gym and gave me one of the sternest talking tos I've ever had in my life. And my mother and father have given me plenty, but he gave me one that day that I still remember. And it concerned smoking and drinking and things like this. And at that time, I thought it was going to be cute and let my hair grow, and he told me I didn't need to do that. And he just gave me a real stern talking to, and to this day I appreciate it because I don't have the long hair and I don't wear the, any of the earrings or anything like that. So I still remember it. This is strictly hearsay, but my mother and father, when they came back to Bennett after the war, lived over at Miss Moffitt's, right across from where Mr. Phillips grew up. And she said she can remember many of a time Mr. Phillips coming in and laying that motorcycle down to make that turn into the driveway. So, Mr. Phillips, you might have to take that up with her if it's not so. To me, one of the greatest accomplishments a person can receive is to be called Mr. his entire life. When I started playing here in the 8th grade, everyone else called Mr. Phillips Skip or Doc. I never had that intestinal fortitude to do that. It was always Mr. Phillips because I felt like that I didn't know him that well yet. But to this day, and even this morning when I saw Mr. Phillips, I said, "Good morning, Mr. Phillips, how you doing?" And to me, that's something every person should strive for, is to be called Mr. their entire life. That's such respect, and I do respect this man. He's been a leader, a pillar of the community, if you will, to this community, to everyone. He's been a guiding light, someone they can look up to. And if you young people want to mold your life after someone, I think you could not pick a better example than Mr. Phillips. Concerning baseball, when I started playing, I could stand out in left field right out beyond shortstop, and when Mr. Phillips came up to hit during batting practice, I could catch every line drive he hit. He was typically Pete Rose hitter. Line drive, as your program says, tells you. Line drive after line drive. It's amazing. Even today, I guarantee you he can get right here and hit line drives to left field. That's amazing. He's such a good hitter, such a good contact hitter, that if he ever pinch hit, which he would never do, if he ever pinch hit, we knew we could get at least one hit. So he should have pinch hit more. But Mr. Phillips, I'm proud to be a part of this program. I thank you for being a leader and a guiding light in my life, and I know you'll enjoy this day. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Our next speaker is Ray Scott, who's certainly familiar to all the people who played ball in Bennett. Ray and myself, I guess we're going to have the longest longevity of anyone playing. Ray and I started the town team here in 1953. We're in 1988. I can't say we're still playing because I've got so slow and fat I can't play, but Ray can still play, and at this time I'd like for Ray to come forward.
Thank you, Ron. When Ron approached me about being on the program, there were many things that went through my mind. And when he said we didn't have just a short time, then I really just threw things out the window and hoped my heart will guide me today. Having walked on this field many times, in the past, we feel very honored to come here today. In 1953, my father brought me here to play a little baseball after high school. Weighing 140 pounds and 6 feet tall, I wasn't much to look at as far as being a baseball player. The first time over, being a shy type person, my dad and I sat right up there. He encouraged me to go down and talk to Mr. Phillips and see if he needed any ball players. Needless to say, I sat in the car. Went back home. I saw the guys out here and I was terrified, and I didn't know Mr. Phillips or anyone else, and I didn't want to come down and ask you to need any ball players. My dad went along with that, but a week went by, and thank goodness for my dad and mom, the encouragement they gave, and when he said, we are going back to Bennett, and you will go down and see Mr. Phillips. Well, I knew it was on then. It was going to have to take place. So we came back. I met Mr. Phillips a week later than I would have, and I regret that. Through the years,